Now, we told you last night how a mic caught President Trump saying he plans to release the House Intel Committee's controversial FISA memo. Earlier today, the White House Chief of Staff John Kelly implied its release was potentially imminent.
Our national security lawyers in the White House that work for me, work for the president, they're slicing and dicing it, looking at it so that we know what it means and what it understands.
Did you see it?
I did.
What do you think?
It'll be released here pretty quick, I think, and the whole world can see it.
Now, Fox sources are telling us it could be released tomorrow, and Adam Schiff just tweeted out that it's his understanding that the memo that was sent to the White House for review was changed somehow by Devin Nunes. We haven't confirmed that. And so he's complaining that the whole committee did not approve that. That just was tweeted a few moments ago. But the FBI is fighting back against the release, as we said earlier, issuing a statement today claiming the omissions of some facts impact the memo's accuracy. You need the full context, they say. Let's discuss all this with former Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz in Miami Beach, author of the bestseller Trumped Up: How Criminalization of Political Differences Endangers Democracy, and in Atlanta, Chris Swecker. He's a former head of the FBI's Criminal Investigative Division in Washington and someone who personally knows Director Christopher Wray and Special Counsel Bob Mueller. All right, Professor, let's start with you here. There seems to be these dueling leaks coming out today. Some leaks of information about Peter Strzok and the timing of his knowledge of the emails that were found, the additional emails in the fall of 2016. But for the moment, let's focus on the release of this memo. Given what we know now, do you believe this memo should be released, should see the light of day?
Absolutely, and also the context should be released. So both sides have their say. Let the public decide. Let's see the memo. If people in the FBI think it's out of context, let them release the rest of the material in context and let the public decide. And as far as, the Strzok issue is concerned, it just shows what happens when the FBI doesn't have a clear rule that says no discussing ongoing criminal prosecutions except to say indictment, no indictment, especially during an election. If, in fact, Strzok tried to delay it, it probably backfired, because if it had been released earlier, then maybe they would have been able to decide there were no more classified materials, and they would have corrected it earlier. So whatever impacted on the election, this should never, ever happen, and we have to have rules preventing it from ever happening again.
Chris, you know Mueller, you know Wray. Christopher Wray under some fire, although he was, hugely praised by both sides at his own confirmation as head of the FBI. And your sense of where this is going tonight?
Well, as John Q. citizen, I would love to see the memo. I would love to know if the FISA court was misled. I'd love to know if the FISA judge was aware that if the dossier information was included, that it was paid for by a political opponent. But the FBI executive in me, or former executive in me, says, let's play by the rules. Not like this. This is not how you release information from a partisan body like Congress. I just don't have any faith in congressional committees. I'm sorry. They've got their own agenda, and there's a process for releasing FISA information. I've used it. It's not that hard to use. There's a right way to do this, and I just like to see it done by the rules. You get in trouble when you start making up your own rules.
Well, what happens when the FBI makes up its own rules?
But I have to tell you.
What happens? Who's supposed to do oversight of the FBI?
I have to tell you.
Chris, Congress does the oversight of the FBI, and while they're amazing people at the FBI,
right.
If there was a political animus, as Professor Dershowitz has talked about on this show so often, undergirding the start of this investigation and the FISA application itself, we got a real problem on our hands with politicizing law enforcement in the United States. And I'm a huge defender of law enforcement. So you got a balancing act. Yeah, follow the rules. What if the FBI wasn't following the rules and they were off half-cocked? Professor.
Well,
Professor,
it's so refreshing to hear conservatives and Republicans questioning and overseeing the FBI. That's something that we liberals did for years and years and years. Now the Democrats are saying, oh, the FBI is beyond reproach. We should never question law enforcement. And the conservatives are saying, well, we need transparency. We need accountability. Look, everybody should be in favor of accountability by the FBI. And in my experience, at least, 99% of the time, when people claim national security need for censorship, when it ultimately gets released, it was not really so important. It was overstated. Look, the movie The Post, obviously the Pentagon Papers makes that point. The government got up in front of the Supreme Court and said the country would fall if the Pentagon Papers were released. And they were released, and of course only positive came from it. So in general, I'm in favor of disclosure and full transparency. And sure, you follow the rules, but the rules ought to err on the side of disclosure rather than suppression.
And just for clarity purposes, Adam Schiff's tweet that just was sent out discovered late tonight that Chairman Nunes made material changes to the memo he sent to the White House, changes not approved by the committee. White House, therefore, reviewing a document the committee has not approved for release. And he attaches a copy of that document. So that's Chris, you can close it out, but you shouldn't, if that happened, and I don't know if it did or not, well, you can't materially change a document that the committee hasn't approved. I would assume that that's a no-no, but we'll have to learn more about that. Chris, you know Mueller, you know Wray.
Right.
You also know the facts as they've developed about the agents and the Peter Strzok doing both investigations, Hillary email, and Trump. You have confidence in the outcome of this investigation?
I do have confidence in the outcome. I know Chris Wray. I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt in this under these circumstances. Look, I'm all for disclosure. The FBI is not a bunch of snowflakes. They can take criticism. They can take oversight. They should be transparent. But in this case, Chris has come forward. Now, he was approved with the overwhelming vote of the Senate. Let's give him the confidence. Let's give him the credibility, and let's go with his recommendation at this point. And let's do it right. If there's misconduct there, let's refer that to the Inspector General, which is basically internal affairs.
They are doing it right. I mean, you act as if, I mean, again, I'm putting aside this tweet by Schiff. They have done it right. Correct me if I'm wrong, Professor. They went through the process of the committee, reviewing this document, reviewing its contents for national security concerns. The Chief of Staff, the President, other FBI officials, read it over. Wray and now FBI officials say, no, this is a grave issue of grave concern. That seems like, to me, it seems like a stretch. But I don't know. You keep saying do it by the rules. I think they have followed the rules. Again, setting aside this tweet that we can't confirm.
Just
Professor,
remember that constitutionally, the president has the authority to. The president has the authority to declassify anything. He is the ultimate authority on what can be declassified. And if he wants to see the memo out, nobody can really overrule that decision.
All right. And guys, thanks so much.